you want to actually do a remedial work or do what we call a revamp on that facility. If you have the capacity of doing that, you can either go for a remedial if you have the financial capacity. But if the financial capacity is not available, you can start thinking about, okay, pending the time that you're going to have the financial capability, you can still go for operation or what? And maintenance. Pending when you have the capital what? Money that can finance that repair. Then facility condition assessment element. What are the elements of facility condition assessment? One, you talk about your building interior elements. And what are your building interior? That is what you have inside the building envelope. Your furniture fittings, your communication gadgets, like your telephone, your chairs and table, your air conditioning system, and all the other ones. Then you start talking about the civil site development and amenities, pavement, entrances, and sidewalks. Then document review, which include your engineering drawing. And your engineering drawing give you a lot of specification and a lot of report and record. Then fire protection and life safety regulations. So those are the elements that it involved. Then you talk about your MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and what? Plumbing system. Structure, foundation, and exterior wall system. Preliminary review and on-site observation, production process, and packaging equipment. These are all classified under your facility condition assessment element. This is an element that helps you when you are doing your condition assessment on any facility. Then what are the results of a facility condition assessment? What are the results that FCA produces? It helps you to understand what exactly is in your portfolio. As a facility manager, if you are taking up a new facility, for instance, when you conduct your facility assessment, you know exactly what and what are in your portfolio, what are what you are going to be maintaining, what are what you can maintain internally, and what are what you need to lease out or you need to give out to external vendors or external service provider. Then you have the opportunity to get what we call visibility into the appropriate level of capital funding for each of the building and across what? The portfolio. So you are able to determine your what? Your funding. What are the exact money you'll be needing to like fund that facility? What are the exact money you'll be needing to carry out a capital project on that facility? What are the exact money you'll be needing to carry out day-to-day activity in terms of maintenance of that facility? Then you'll be able to prioritize with your result of FCA. You are able to get what we call prioritization of facility capital plan. And you align that with organization mission and goal, which I have earlier mentioned. Whatsoever FCA you are doing, your report and your summary and the cost aspect of your report must be aligned with the organization mission and vision. And it must be in line with the strategic policy of the organization. Then with your facility condition assessment, you will be able to identify all the deficiencies that facility are having. And you'll be able to estimate, to put those deficiencies in to rectify all those deficiencies. You'll be able to determine what are the costs involved. Is this something that you can handle in-house with your maintenance team or with your facility team? Is this something that you need to like give out to third-party facility maintenance vendors? Or is this something that you need some contractor to carry out repair work on them? So if it's something that requires a repair work, which involve contractors, how do you generate your quotation? How do you start sending out your debt tenders to all service providers for them to start submitting quotation? Then you need to like sit down, after getting all your quotation, you need to sit down and review your quotation. Review your quotation, you come up with an ideal amount of money you need to spend on that facility to get that repair work done. These are what are the results you can get from an effective facility condition assessment. So part of the benefit you get from facility assessment is that it helps you to improve your facility data, because you need data to make some strategic decision as far as facility management is concerned. Then at the same time, you'll be able to define the exact problem that your facility is currently facing. what is that problem currently now, and in the future time, will this problem expand to the extent that it might require a huge amount of capital to get it replaced? And if at the same time, are these problems something that you can defer, that you can still put on hold pending another facility calendar year? Then it also helps you to gather defensive data for justifying capital expenditure. So when you are proposing to management exactly what you need to do on that facility, you have a lot of data, you have a lot of evidence to justify the reason why you want to spend the amount of money you want to spend. Even if it is 10,000 naira or even if it is 10 million naira, you have your data at your disposal. This is the reason why we're spending this. And that same data must also justify what we call return. Because management want to see when you put all those things in place, when you spend that money, what exactly is that expenditure bringing in terms of return back into the organization? Then it also helps you to streamline your facility management and also improve your facility condition, because you know what you have in your portfolio. Then it helps you to know the number of staff you are going to engage, the number of head office staff, the number of supporting staff, the number of field staff you are going to engage. And when you talk about your field staff or you talk about your management team, you should also consider the fact that management team also involve what we call cost. So then it also allows facility personnel to better plan, manage, and direct work. So you know who is who that need to take one or two responsibility. You won't go to the extent of giving a plumbing work to an electrical guy. Neither will you give an electrical guy a mechanical work to do. It also helps you to prioritize your short-term planning short-term planning issue. So what is the purpose of conducting facility condition assessment? One, to evaluate the cause of deficiency. What is actually causing the deficiency? Just like there is a leakage on a foundation, or you have a foundational deficiency. What actually is the cause? So you'll be able to conduct what we call root cause analysis. Then it establishes the current repair cost of correcting that exact problem. So when you have a foundational deficiency, you know what is the cause that is going to get you to fix that thing. Possibly it might require you to do what we call soil integrity test. It might require you to get an architecture to carry out one or two tests on the building integrity. So you need to factor all these costs into place. So with your facility condition assessment, you need to determine what is going to cost you, the cost of getting an architect to do the review for you, and the cost of getting it fixed, even after the architect has submitted his report. It also helps you creating a prioritized list of repairs. So when you have your list of repairs that you needed to do, your list could be as much as 30, 40, or 50. Then with those lists, you'll be able to streamline. These ones are very, very urgent now. These ones are very, very paramount. These ones are very, very key. For me to have a successful facility operation, I need to get this in place. So you'll be able to itemize the ones that are very, very priority. So those priority ones are the ones you are going to attack. You are going to attack first. Then the other ones that are lesser priority, those are the ones that you can You can defer and get done in another time when you have the capital opportunity. Then it also helps you to establish a budget that will be successful in controlling costs while the most critical deficiencies are being resolved. So while you are even getting your repair work done, when you are getting your facility upgrade, you have means of controlling your cost, because you have the cost of getting everything fixed at your disposal already. So it's not a kind of fire brigade approach whereby you don't actually plan, but with this, you already have your plan already on ground. And you have, the second thing is that you have your cost at hand. So at that period in time, as you are going ahead in establishing your budgeted amount of money, you'll be able to control the money that project is going to include. Then the other advantage of your FCA is that it gives you opportunity to forecast, to do a future forecast. You can see the graph is showing a kind of a facility condition assessment. You know, when the condition is effective, the maintenance cost is lower. But when the condition is becoming critical, the maintenance cost increases. So understanding the future deficiency is just as important as calculating the building current condition. So when you have a good facility condition assessment, it is easier for you to determine what is going to entail in the nearest future to make sure that your facility is sustainable. Then you can able to forecast cost by breaking down a building into what? Individual components. Individual component means when you have a building, you can break it down to, okay, my roofing system. Okay, the roofing system, then the electrical system. You can break it down to your transportation system, which include your lawn, your walkways, your staircase, your lift, and your conveyor. Then you can also break it down to electrical, which include your, okay, your low voltage electrical panel, your distribution board, your breakers, your contactors, and all those stuff. So you can break each individual component in the building into what we call subheading and assign cost to each of those subheading. Then at the end, you can put all the subheading together and summarize and come up at what? A single cost. So with this, you can propose what will make that building, what will make your facility sustainable in the nearest future. It also helps you to establish your short-term and your long-term budget. Your long-term budget forms in terms of, okay, what do I need to do in the next 3 years in terms of this facility? Okay, in the next 5 years, I need to repaint the whole entire facility. And repainting the whole entire facility, what does it involve? I need scaffolding. How much will the scaffolding cost me? What is the manpower that is going to be involved? What is the cost of paint that I need? And apart from that one, I have some other area where I need to like do a comprehensive building repair work. So these are the kind of costs you need to put in place. So you know that in the next 5 years, you have all your costs at your disposal. So it also helps you in calculating the forecast cost based on their representative portfolio of the building total what? Replacement value. So if your building current replacement value is like 50 million naira, and you know that in the next 10 years, the building can still sustain you with minor and little major repair work, you can still continue. But when it's come to a point that the cost of repair is almost equivalent to the current value of your facility, it is always better you what? You go for what? A total complete what? Replacement of that facility. Then part of your purpose of facility condition assessment is also help you to maintain building data. You can forecast current and historical data from previous assessment. Possibly maybe an assessment can be carried out by the previous facility management team already before you are taking over. You can take their report to review it, and their report can also guide you to like what? Upgrade your own report. It also serves as a pilot for you to know what you are actually going to check when you are doing your condition assessment. It also includes a current set of typical deficiencies and the best correction for each of those deficiencies. It also helps you to use what we call life cycle model analysis. You know, your life cycle model analysis involves the planning stage of your assets, the commissioning stage of the asset, the time that the asset is being put to use, then when the asset is no longer useful, and the disposal stage of the asset. And your life cycle model analysis also include the cost of ownership. So it helps you to use life cycle model analysis to assign the life expectancy for what? For all building systems. So you know that, okay, in this building system, my electrical system can only last me for the next what? 3 years. Or possibly my power system in terms of my generator as an asset can last me for the next maybe 5 years. So my generator, after 5 years, I need to get what? Another generator to replace. The other advantage of it is that it also helps you to plan your energy efficient system. It increases the energy effectiveness of a building because you actually know when you conduct a very good facility condition assessment, possibly if the facility is being made of all the olden days electrical bulbs that generates a lot of heat and at the same time consume a lot of power. So during your condition assessment, part of your recommendation could be, okay, replacing those old lighting bulb with what? With a new one, which are what? Lights emitting diode, which are LEDs, which consume lesser energy and at the same time saves what? Saves you cost. And based on the assessment, you can achieve what we call green building attributes. Then facilities so what consumers need, customers need. Then sustainable building material components are being what? Identified. So those ones that can be sustainable, you can easily identify those ones. And the ones that are not sustainable, you can go for an outright replacement, or if there is no need for them, you can put them on what? On hold. Then what are the scope when you want to conduct a facility condition assessment, what are the scope does it involve? One, the site inspection. That means you need to physically be present at the site. So to observe the general site improvement and condition of all major building systems. So you need to physically go to the site to assess all the major building system. Then you review the building documents. And what are those building documents? You have your as-built drawing, you have your building record, you have your construction documents, you have your building codes and violation rules, you have your maintenance record. So if it's a building that they have been having a good maintenance record, like your history card, or your inventory card. So, and your as-built drawing help you, because there is always a difference between your as-built drawing and your engineering drawing. The engineering drawing is always being prepared before the building is being constructed, but the as-built drawing is a drawing that the architect provides after the whole construction work has been done. So there is always a slight difference between the engineering drawing and the as-built drawing. So, but your as-built drawing help you to locate your piping system, your drainage system, your electrical piping work, your roofing arrangement, your foundation system, and all this stuff. So you stand a lot of advantage when you have your building drawing at your disposal, as far as facility condition assessment is what concerned. So in the scope of facility condition assessment, you need site inspection, and you need your building documents at your disposal, because it helps you a lot. Then it also helps, part of your scope is you'll be able to produce what we call detail of list of schedule of dilapidation. The schedule of dilapidation is more or less like an obligation for a tenant, which form part of the lease agreement, for a tenant to carry out in a building during lease period. It could be before the lease period, during the lease period, or after the lease period. And it is always, most of the time, at the same time, carried out before the expiration of a lease period, so that you know before the tenant is going to hand over the facility to the owner of the facility, you need to carry out what we call an assessment and provide what we call dilapidation as schedule of what? Dilapidation. It is a list, it lists the problem with the maintenance of what? Of the building. And it is prepared after the completion of what? A condition survey. So after you have done all your comprehensive survey, you can prepare this and hand it over to what? To whoever tenant that is coming in. So the tenant under the lease agreement has the obligation of carrying out 1 or 2 maintenance work in that facility. Then it's also, part of it is developing cost for what? Remedial work. So in your scope, you'll be able to determine an estimation of the cost to correct the backlog of deferred maintenance. Maybe possibly the initial third party that have been maintaining the facility has put a lot of things on hold. There are several numbers of maintenance activity they ought to have carried out that are being put on hold due to reason best known to them. So you coming in as a new facility company that you want to take over the facility, doing your facility condition assessment under your scope, you'll be able to estimate the cost of how to correct all those backlogs that have been deferred, all those maintenance that have been deferred by the old facility management company. You'll be able to assign cost to those ones. And those are the ones that you need to first of all get fixed first before you take over the facility. Those deferred maintenance has to get fixed. And this is going to form like a kind of an agreement between you and the owner of the facility before you can take over that facility. Because if that is not corrected, it's becoming more or less like a liability for you as a facility company. And the second advantage is that you'll be able to arrive at a defensible estimate of what? Reinvestment cost. So the client or the owner of the facility knows that he's going to reinvest money, but he wants to know exactly what is the amount of money he's going to invest back into the facility. And you need to have a lot of data, a lot of information to convince the owner that this is the reason why this has to be done. Then you need to identify, it's also in your scope, you identify the area of what? Improvement. Which area does it require improvement? Possibly, maybe the facility has been running on an analog facility system before. Or possibly you need to put in a new digital facility system, or you need to put what we call facility, like all this your computerized maintenance management system. in the facility. Possibly maybe everything they've been doing as far as maintenance is concerned has been through pen and paper. But this time around, you want to go into what we call an upgrade of system. So you'll be able to determine which one is even good for the facility. So you have able identify opportunity of what, how to adapt new system into the what, into the facility for what, improvement. Then you need to evaluate the current condition of the asset. This is very, very important. Evaluating the effective age of the asset. Let me take an air condition, for instance. Possibly the air conditioner has been installed like 3 years before you are coming in as a new facility management. But you need to do a comprehensive assessment of the air condition so that you don't take a liability for your company, or you don't incur an extra cost, which become more or less like a liability again. Then you'll be able to estimate the remaining useful life of that same asset. Can this asset still last for the next 10 years? If the asset cannot last for the next 10 years, you'll be able to assign what is the exact number of years that the facility can be sustainable enough to support the operation of the facility. Then you can forecast future life cycle renewal of the asset as they reach the end of their useful life. So if a facility, you know that, okay, when you are taking over cannot last you more than 3 years, within that period in time, you start making your plan that, okay, after 3 years, I need to replace this facility. After 3 years, we need to like repaint the whole entire facility. So within that period in time, you start making your findings on cost, on what is going, the manpower that's going to be involved, or what are the major people, third party that will be involved in getting that task performed. It also provides you a benchmark of what? Current performance of the building. What is the current performance of the building? If the current performance meets the organization goal, and if it meets the organization policy and strategy, fine, go ahead. So the only thing you need now is to work on your what, short-time what decision, which is your what, your operation and what, maintenance, in order to keep the facility what, fit and sustainable. What is the process it involves when you want to carry out your condition assessment in facility? One, you need to design the assessment. Designing the assessment means what is the assessment scope? If I'm going to a facility to assess the roofing system, what am I going to check? Before going to the site, I can easily sit down, put my pen on paper. What am I checking? Or possibly, when do I need to visit that facility? Possibly when it is raining, so that I can pinpoint the area where I'm having a lot of roof leakages. One. Then two, I need to check the wooden system of the roof. Is the wooden system still sustainable enough? Then I need to check the roof itself. Are there part of leakages? Can the roof still sustain the building for the next 3 or 4 years? So I can easily itemize what am I going to check when I get to site. So on getting to the site, I don't need to start going forth and back. I know exactly the area where I'm going. And I know the exact information that I needed to pick in that location. So it might involve me going there with my camera, taking necessary picture and clear picture, not just ordinary picture, to support what? My information. Then I need to select who and who are going to, who and who am I going to use? Who and who are going with me? If I'm going to do an assessment on a plumbing system in a building, definitely I need to go along with my plumber. If I'm going to do an electrical system assessment, I need to go with my electrical. So if I'm doing an entire building system, it might require me going with my plumber, it might require me going with my electrical system engineer, it might require me going with an architect, it might require me going with an M&E engineer, it might even require me going with a soil test service provider. So that's the reason why facility condition assessment is more or less like a multidisciplinary. So everybody, when we get to site, we know exactly what we are doing. Then, if we are going to go with team, how do we mobilize the team? Are we to get a single vehicle to convey all of us, or all of us agree to meet on a particular location, or we agree to meet on site? If you are meeting on site, what time are we meeting on site? So when we get to site, are we all working together? Why A plumber is checking his own plumbing system, everybody is checking alongside with him. You know, that will take a lot of time. So when we get to site, everybody know his own activity. A plumber goes ahead and start checking his own plumbing fittings and plumbing system. An electrical guy know that, okay, my job is to do a comprehensive assessment of the electrical system. He goes ahead and starts his own. Then an architect goes ahead, does his own. A building engineer comes around, or a civil engineer comes around, do what we call integrity test on the building. So at the end of the day, everybody compile his own report. Then we submit the report to a facility manager who now sit down and streamline that report to come up with what? A summarized report with all attached pictures and every other thing to present it to the management. Then, how do we plan the inspection? When will the inspection be carried out? You need to determine when the site will become accessible. You don't just go to site when the site is not accessible, most especially when you are not the one that holds the key to the site. So that means definitely whoever is going to grant you access to that site, you need to get that person to be on ground. It might even require you to get an approval before you can access the site. So how do you do that? You need to start planning. Okay, I need to quickly make a plan on how to get my all necessary approval ready before we can approach the site. Then when will the site be approached? Is it a night walk? Is it a early in the morning walk? Or is it the one you need to do in the afternoon? Because I don't expect my electrical guy to climb the roof when the sun is at the peak. Because of what? Because of the heat. If I'm doing that, I'm putting the life of that electrical guy at what? At risk. So that means that kind of assessment can be planned very early in the morning, between the hour of 7 o'clock in the morning and possibly between the hour of 11 o'clock, when the sun is not So then, after you have done your phase 1, you move to the second phase. And what is the second phase? You collect the data. So, and I've told you, how do you collect the data? You can make it a teamwork. And when you make it a teamwork, when you get to site, you give each team their own specific area that they need to cover. So after the whole day, they present their report to you as the facility manager. It is now left for you to sit down on their report and streamline everything and make it a summary report. Then you prepare inspection form, you conduct the inspection, prepare finding and conclusion report, which I've earlier discussed. Then you summarize the results. You evaluate inspection, prepare summary report, compile the data, prepare quotation for remedial work. So when it requires a repair, because when you are presenting the information to the management, you are presenting a comprehensive information. It's not only the survey alone that you are presenting the survey alongside with the cost of getting those items into place. And you must be able to support your cost with information. Why are you replacing when you can revamp? Why are you revamping when you know that this cannot sustain the facility for the next 3 years? Why can't we go for outright replacement? So you must be able to defend every cost that you are putting into each of the activity. And you'll be able to convince the management the reason why that cost has to be has to be spent. Then phase 4, you are presenting your findings. You communicate your findings, you select your final report, you design presentation. It could require you presenting engineering drawings, which you can call up on a civil guy to do that for you, or possibly an architect. Then you gain support when you give a proper presentation to the management. You gain what we call management support. And once you have the management support, it's more or less like an approval that you should go ahead and expend the money that you want to spend. And during that period of presentation, there might be some certain things that you have already proposed. You might propose 10,000 naira. It is left for management to decide, okay, instead of spending 10,000 naira, if that 10,000 naira item will last us for 3 years, and 15,000 item will last us for 10 years, let's go for the 15,000 naira. Since that one will last us longer. So you might be proposing 10,000 naira, they might eventually approve 15. And you might be proposing 15 and they might eventually approve 5. So at the end of the day, once you get the management approval, you do another summary again to know what is the actual final approval that the management are giving you. As long as after that, you can now put your assessment to what we call to work. Without the management approval, you can't put your assessment to work. You can't put them to work. Then 5, What are the instruments you need when you want to generate your facility condition assessment? Your measuring tape, which is very, very key. It is everything deal with about what? Measurement. Your data capturing devices or data sheets. You can do more or less like an Excel data sheet, or your camera is still part of the tools that you need to take clear and valuable pictures. Your protective gears, possibly when it requires area where you can have foreign item falling off. And any other equipment deemed necessary by the what? By the assessor. Like if a civil guy is involved now, you know, they will definitely come with all their tools. Or when you need to do a soil sample, those ones will also come with all their what? Necessary tools. And when you want to do electrical troubleshooting as a system assessment as well, you need all the electrical what? That might involve you coming around with your what? Ohm meter, your clamp ohm meter, your testing lamp, your tester, and all the stuff. So what are the techniques you can use in collecting your data? You can use visual review of a representative what sample. You can use user survey. Those who have been using the facility before, you can do a survey, send it out, let them fill the survey form, use the survey form to gather your information. Then you can gather them through interview. You can review the existing document if it is available. Then you can do what is called satisfaction survey. Give the survey to what? To the tenant. Let them review. Are they satisfied with the current services provided by the facility? Are they satisfied with the operation and maintenance being put in place currently? Then from all their comments and all their recommendations, you'll be able to like itemize what you actually need, because most of the time it is not all what the end user requested for that you can even at the same time provide for them. Then part of what you can use is you can interview the facility staff or the operators. Then you can contractor interview. If you have contractors who have been coming around to do 1 or 2 repair work on those facilities. So from series level numbers of questions you put to them, they can likely tell you this is the issue we'll be having concurrently with this. And this is what we think we can do to rectify the fault. Then you can do what we call condition monitoring. Then you can also do what we call selection of appropriate reinvestment formula for calculation of the maintenance budget. So this is an example of a sample of checklist that you can use to do what we call facility condition assessment. You can see, you have electrical system. What are you checking? The lighting, the distribution board, the electrical fittings. Then under sanitary, under security and safety, what are you checking? Fire alarm, fire hose tray, CCTV camera, biometric system. So assuming that you have plan of checking this and the facility doesn't have biometric system in place, this could be part of your new incoming proposal for that facility. So this is just like an example of a facility condition assessment checklist. You can design your own to suit the exact condition assessment you want to carry out. This doesn't mean what is showing on this plan is the final one that you have to use. No, you can sit down and design your own facility condition assessment. You can see another sample here. You can see on the heading, you have what we call asset condition. What is the condition of the asset? What is the category of the asset? How do you describe that asset? What is the current condition of that asset? So how do you describe the current defect of that asset? So after assessing the condition, is it a minor issue or a major issue? Then what is your recommendation? This could be your checklist at the same time, or you can still redesign and put your own other thing that you want to like achieve. At the end, you can still put your cost, or you can still put quantity, the number of that asset. So you can see in number 1, we said account office. What are the issues in that account office? The electrical system, that's the first thing we check. What has happened? The ceiling mounted fitting. What is the condition of the ceiling mounted fitting? It is fair. What is the description of the defect on that ceiling mounted fitting? It has a broken cover. So what do we do? Is that major or minor? Is a minor minor repair. So what is your recommendation? Replace fittings cover. So at times you can see number 3, driver's room, the building fabrics, which is the building wall. What is the issue? Ceiling board. What is the condition of the ceiling board? It is bad. So what do we need to do? If you see the description of the defect, it says there is stain on the ceiling board as a result of what? Water leaks from the what? From the roof. And water leakage in any building facility is what? A major issue. So you can see it is classified under what? Under major. Then what is your recommendation? Repair roof, replace or repaint ceiling board. And at the same time, you can still put cost. The cost of getting it done is this. Or you can say, okay, instead of using POP, let's use normal ceiling board. Instead of using normal ceiling board, let's use waterproof what? POP. So you can make your recommendation through that. Then what are the level of conducting your facility condition assessment? So there is drive-by assessment, and there is another one that is top-down assessment. So a high-level review that focuses primarily on one, on the system level, two, with less detail applied to the condition of the individual asset or component. So when you are doing a drive-by assessment, it's just like you are walking by the facility. So you can pinpoint detail of each of the components in that facility. And it's all depends on the system level. But the top-down assessment is a method of what? Collecting data by approaching the system, the facility at the system level. So you can pick each of the system in that facility one by one and doing a comprehensive assessment on it, which is different from when you are just walking by and assessing it. Providing general, statement about the projected concern associated with what? With each of the systems. So you'll be able to itemize what are the what concerns that is associated with what? That what system, because what you are doing is more or less like a crawl. That is a crawl through facility management, facility assessment. So you check every facility one by one. For instance, you pick up the chair. Let's pick up the chair for an example. If I'm doing a walkthrough or a top-down assessment on the chair, the first thing I'm going to check is that, is the casters still working? If they are still working, are they rolling or they are just stiff to the extent that I can't move this chair up and down? So out of the casters, how many are effective? Maybe I have like 3 that's what? Already broken. Okay, can I remove those 3? Can I replace them? So on this chair, I can generate like almost about 10 what? Information. The casters need to be replaced. How many? 3. Then the arm. Are the arm okay? Fine, the arms are okay. I don't need to replace the arm. Then the backrest. Is the backresting sustainable enough to support ergonomy? If the answer is no, okay, what do I need to do? The net is giving way. The spring is bad. So I can start making list of what and what I need to, or like what, itemize on that chair. And when I compare the cost of replacing those items and the cost of a new chair, if the cost is almost the same thing, it is advisable enough and it is cost saving enough for me to do what we call outright replacement instead of spending that huge amount of money to repair that chair. So level of facility condition assessment, like I've already mentioned this, there's walkthrough and there's crawl through. So when you do a walkthrough include an on-site visual assessment to collect empirical data on the condition of the asset. But when you do crawl through, it involves an assessment on a 3-tier scale. A rigorous assessment of the asset that is carried out as a component level assessment. So you pick each of the components of that facility one by one. You pick one room. In that room, what do you have? You have chairs, you have table, you have air conditioner, you have fan. So even in that room alone, you cannot have several subheading. What are your subheading? You have fan. What is the condition of the fan? You itemize. The second subheading, air condition. What are the condition of the air condition? You itemize. Then, what is the condition of the wall in that room? So in one single room alone, you can generate like almost about 3 or 4 pages of information. And that is different from when I open the door and I look through. There are few information I can have access to. Then 2, the assessment team spend more time on the field of what? Observation. So it takes a lot of time. Even in this single room alone, if you want to do a walk-through assessment, you could spend a whole day. Because I have to start from the ceiling of this office. I have to start from the furniture fitting one by one, itemizing them to know what are the issues that is pertaining to each of them. And when I'm doing sockets, I have to check each of the socket one by one. Does any one of them has a losing screw? Does any one of them require an outright replacement? Then the table in this training room, what is the condition of the table? Is the formica peeling off? Is the stand still okay or in good condition? Do we need to do another? Do we need to make another stand? So it takes a lot of time because you have to do what we call comprehensive or thorough observation. So what is the advantage of crawl through? It provides you detailed information, and it is give you what we call actionable data, because you have pictures and you have every detail at your proposal, because it's different from when you just walk through. But the only disadvantage of it is that it is very, very expensive, because it might require you gathering several numbers of teams to get the work done. And two, it is time consuming. Then three, most of the time, it may not be necessary for all assets. It may not be necessary. There are some assets you may not need to do what we call crawl through. Then facility performance evaluation. What is facility performance evaluation? It is an extension of what had been called post-occupancy evaluation. That means that facility has already been occupied. So the only people that can give you a good evaluation on that facility are the actual end user of that facility. They are the one that can help you to assess and give you the performance of every system you have put in place in that facility. You could have a facility in Abuja while your head office is in Lagos. But the end user in Abuja can easily give you information about the lift or about the power system in that place. Somebody can tell you that we've been having erratic power supply in that facility for the past 1 month. She might not be there, but the information provided by the end user will help you to determine if the existing system you put in that facility is actually performing up to the your expectation. So facility performance evaluation is a continuous process of systematically evaluating the performance and the effectiveness of one or more aspects of the building in relation to issues such as accessibility, aesthetic, and cost effectiveness. Like I rightly mentioned earlier, you have a lift in that facility. The lift is to provide what we call transportation system. So your evaluation, your condition facility evaluation will help you to rate that transportation system you have put in place in that facility, if it is performing up to expectation or not. Then it will also help you to determine the functionality of that system and the productivity of that system that you have put in place. Then it also helps to tell you the safety, the security, and the sustainability of that system. So evaluation is not something that you just do once. So it's different from condition assessment. You could do condition assessment once, but facility evaluation is something you do most of the time on daily basis, most of the time on monthly basis, most of the time on 2-month basis, because it helps you to improve on that system. It also helps you to, apart from improving, it also helps you to satisfy the end user of that facility. Then you also know what is actually working in that facility and what is not working. Then you can also, it can also help you to remove a lot of certain things that you've already put in place that is not all actually necessary. It also helps you to better understand the impact of early design delivery decision on long-term efficiency, and effectiveness of what? Of that building. It helps you to better understand the impact of building delivery process and decision on customer response, both initial and over the life cycle of the what? Of the building. It helps you to extend beyond a physical assessment and including consideration of obsolescence and other such as qualitative what? Factors. So you generate a lot of information when you are doing your evaluation. So that's why evaluation most of the time serves as a feedback for you to do what we call what? Improvement on that, those facility or those systems you've already put in place in that facility. Then, during the applying phase of your evaluation, just like your condition assessment, you prepare a document, you report the finding of the analysis, then you recommend action, you monitor and review the outcome of any such action undertaken. So after you've done your review, whatever action you put in place after your review, you still have to what? Monitor that action. You still have to what? Review that action. If that action is what? Actually supporting your expected what? Plan, or your expected what? What your expected end result of that system you put in place. So outcomes are very, very important because they may be used as a feedback to modify or improve the next cycle of what? Facility performance evaluation process. So it can serve as a feedback so that when you want to conduct the next evaluation, you know what the other one is lagging. So you can put all those ones in place, and those ones that are excessive, you can remove them. So what are the benefits of facility performance evaluation? Short-term benefits. The short-term benefits include, it's related to immediate design decision. So if that design is not right, okay, sorry, this chair cannot be staying in this door because it's obstructing what? Freeway. So let's relocate this chair. Let's put this chair in the form of an L shape so that when there is emergency, people have opportunity of what? Moving easily. Those are more or less like a short-term decision. Okay, fine. The walkway that we have, if we lock this gate, we can make use of the other gate because this gate on the main road is creating a lot of what? Bottleneck in terms of transportation. So it's creating a lot of what? Traffic. And instead of the government to be holding the facility responsible for creating a bottleneck on a major road, if we open the other gate at the back, every users of that facility can still have assessment. So those are kind of short-term decisions you can make through your what? Through your evaluation. Then you can make what? Mid-term what? Decision, which is between 3 to what? 5 years. So related to generating useful information for what? Future what? Project. Maybe in the nearest future, when we are designing this kind of facility, we might need, maybe after 3 years, there's a road construction going on. What do? We shut down this gate and make use of what? The other gate. So after the complete road construction and the road is being open for end user, we can lock back the other gate and open this other gate for what? For end user to what? To come in. Long-term advantage, which is 10 to what? 25 years period, related to improving the long-term performance of the building and to justify what? Major expenditure. You can see here, they put the word major expenditure, and your major expenditure are more or less like your capital expenditure, which include a huge amount of money. And your capital expenditure is different from your normal operation and maintenance daily cost, or your normal operation cost that you spend on the facility on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. So your long-term expenditure could be a complete revamp of the whole building, which could be rolling into millions of naira. So there are always difficulties involved in establishing a clear link among user assessment, positive outcome, and the physical environment. At times, your end user could be requesting for you to give them a brand new generator. But at that period in time, your capital, your cash at hand does not support that. So when you use the end user to give you a kind of a survey, the survey that the end user will be giving you is all about replacing that what? Asset. But your capital at hand or your budget at hand cannot support that what? That kind of capital expenditures at that period in time. What do? You could go for improvement. And your improvement could require you doing what we call repair and what? Comprehensive repair and maintenance, or comprehensive repair on that same asset. So the relationship between facility design and facility performance condition is complex and fuzzy. Complex in the sense that what end user wants might not be what you can provide at that period in time. How do you conduct a successful facility performance? One, develop a clear statement about the organization, about what the organization wants to achieve. When you are designing your survey, assuming you want to design a survey in terms of plumbing system in a building, in a facility, possibly maybe the facility have been running out of water. You can design your survey in such a way that you know that whatsoever they're going to make a request for in that survey, you have the budget and you have the capacity of providing that for them. It is not a situation whereby you allow end user to provide you a survey, a request, and eventually 3 years down the line, nothing is being done on that survey, nothing is being carried out on that survey. So when next you approach them for another survey, they'll tell you that, sorry, the last one we did, what has been carried out, what has been done. So it comes to a point that your survey doesn't have any meaning to them. But in a situation whereby they see that when you carry out any survey, they see the result in 2 or 3 months later, they know that something is going to work, something's going to happen. So even when you send them instantly, you get your what? You get your what? Report immediately. Then the link between evaluation and stated requirements have to be what? Explicit and easy to what? Trace. So whatsoever information you are expecting them to give you, it must be traceable. So that when you execute it, it is easier for them to actually know that this has already been executed. Just like in terms of security, initially you've been having one security guard manning your gate, and you have 2 gates. So at times the guy has to come from here and go to the other gate to go and open the other gate. And you make a proposal, you make a request, and the end user were like, okay, instead of maintaining 1 security, why can't we increase it to 2? And after that, you implement their request because you have the capacity and you have the money to put that in place along that period in time. So in some months later, they saw that, okay, you have a permanent security in 1 gate and another permanent security in another gate. So 1 single security doesn't have to run around to open the gate when you have people going out of that gate. They can easily see that their proposal, you've already implemented. Then you can easily identify resources available to carry out the performance evaluation. So with that, you'll be able to know, okay, this performance evaluation I need to carry out, what will it take? What is the cost? What is it going to cost me? How much do I need to spend? At times you might be thinking that it might not cost you. What if it costs you a lot of printings, that you need to generate a lot of printing that might be costing you like maybe 10 reams of paper? Who is going to fund it? Will the management provide the money? The printing you're going to do, the ink you're going to use. Then the other aspect of it is that during the printing period, you're also consuming energy. So these are what you need to consider before you conduct your facility performance evaluation. Then match data collection and analysis to the available time and budget. I've already mentioned it. Time and budget. Then determine appropriate methodology. So don't go to end user's house early in the morning, most especially if you are maintaining an estate. Go and knock the door around 5 a.m. in the morning that, sorry, I need to get an information about your water system. No, you need to determine the appropriate time that you are going to get a better information. Then inform respondent or occupant about the purpose of their involvement and how the data will be used. Why are you involving them? So you need to let them know that that data they are going to provide you will help you to serve them in the proper way. And when they provide that data, always make sure that the data you are trying to acquire from them are data that you are going to execute. It's not the data you are going to collect from them and dump on one table. Then establish performance goal based on existing as well as changing trend. Develop an effective method to disseminate the consolidated data. Then a record of past projects may serve as a good justification for the future performance evaluation. What is the benefit of building performance evaluation? You get a feedback loop to enhance continuous improvement process. So you stand the chance of having reason why you need to improve on your facility from the information you are getting from your evaluation. It improves fit between occupant and the building. So the building occupants get what they actually want from that building. Then the optimization of service to what to suit the occupant, which are the end user. Validation of occupants' real need. Reduce ownership and operational what expenses. Improve competitive advantage in the marketplace. So if you are a facility manager in a facility whereby you deal with rent, you know what is making somebody to go to 1004 estate and they are not coming to your estate, despite the fact that your estate are being closer to each other. Then you have to know, okay, what is that the other estate providing that is giving them an influx of tenants into that facility more than you? Because if you are facility manager in that place, the influx of tenants into that facility is attached to your performance. So with your evaluation, you'll be able to know what you need to put in place to make sure you gain a better tenant coming into that facility. What are the challenges you can face when you want to implement facility condition assessment? Fragmented incentives and benefits within the procurement and operation process. Lack of agreed and reliable indicator. They can be asking for A, and your own capacity as at that time as a service provider is B. So you need to have an agreed and reliable indicator, unless it will not work. So potential liability for what? For the owner. What is the potential liability? When end users are requesting for a brand new generator, and at that point in time, they even facility have just only 3 or 4 tenants occupying the place. So one, it's not really like acquiring reliability in terms of maintenance, in terms of operation of that generator and every other thing. Then you're also at the same time wasting energy. Then exclusion from current delivery expectations. So exclusion from professional curricula. Then there is generally no money set aside for facility performance evaluation. Most of the time, management doesn't set money for this, which is part of the reason why it is different from your condition assessment. Then sometimes facility performance evaluation may require a considerable amount of money. It might be time consuming. Organization may not always have people with necessary skill to conduct the evaluation. Then professionals often do not like to have their work judged by other professionals. So it's just like you are the facility manager in that place and you are the one that carried out a lot of work. When somebody else come around and they condemn your work, it might be like, so why are you saying this work is not good? So all those kind of misalignment, those are the challenges you can face when you are trying to implement facility performance evaluation. And that brings us to the end of the slide. So I am going to unmute to see if we are having 1 or 2 questions to ask. Okay. So let's have a 5-minute break. So after the 5-minute break, get your question down so we can start attending to each of the questions one by one, but not from the assessment, because that is homework already. So don't let your question come from the assessment, please.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Are we on break?
Good evening, sir.
Are we on break?
Yes, you're on break.
On break. All right.
Yeah, so compulsory break.
All right, go ahead with your break. I'll join you at the later part of the class. Mr. Emmanuel, well done. Oh.
I hope you are sending our break goodies to us.
You know, these days of digital also goes with digital currencies and digital meals and digital drinks.
Don't worry, our internet here can cover us up, so you can do an electronic transfer.
Wahala. All right, guys, enjoy your break. I'll be back with you once the question and answer is running.
Okay, we'll be back by 5:20.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, welcome back all from the short break. So can I start having our questions? Once again, the question must not be from any question on the assessment question, please. So let me start having hands up. You have a question? I thought you were raising your hand. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Mr. Paul, we are back from break. Oh. Okay, Madam Fatima, you can go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma.
Okay, thank you very much. Very nice presentation. My question, or what I want you to clear for me, is the last point you mentioned. Most times I'm suffering from this. After you evaluate something from the subject matter expert, and then you present to management, there is this point that is saying professionals often do not like to have their work judged by other professionals. This is occurring, this is happening to me almost every time I have something to present to management. If I can have skills as to how I manage this, I know you address the reason for me to get a nice presentation, a detailed presentation to management. But remember, say if I'm to evaluate a property, a facility, as you mentioned, I'll not be the only one to do the entire evaluation. I'll be needing my M&E engineer, I'll be needing my plumber, XYZ. And then, for example, the most people are normally offended when they've given their report are the engineers. No personal attack to engineers. But after they give you their report, you present it. The moment you get back to them to say, after presenting, I didn't see this, but now management is looking at it this way, they grow offended. So if I can get a skill as to how I manage this particular point going forward, I'll appreciate. Thank you.
Okay, ma, I got your point. And let me also try to like expatiate a little bit. You know, when it involves you getting all your professional to do your assessment, let's get it clear. One is condition assessment. One is evaluation. Condition assessment is always mostly necessary. If you are taking up a facility newly for the first time, you want to maintain a facility, in order not to incur liability, you need to conduct condition assessment. But evaluation is that you have a system already in place. You want to determine if the system you have in place is actually supporting the reason why you put that system in place. To know if the system you have put in place is actually serving the end user. If the system you have put in place is actually satisfying the tenant, the occupancy of a facility. That is the reason why it is called post-occupancy. But at times, you can conduct a condition assessment before occupancy. So when you conduct a condition assessment, that may require you getting a lot of professional into play. It may require you presenting your report to the management with cost. But your evaluation, you can sit down on your own within your facility, design an evaluation form. It's just like you do a security survey in your facility, that what is my security detail giving me? Is the security detail I have on ground performing the task they are supposed to do? With your facility, with your performance condition, you can see if there is need for you to streamline your security apparatus. Maybe those guys are just there sleeping. Maybe there are some area where you need just only one guard to monitor maybe a pedestrian road, and you are having 3 guards here. When you do your evaluation, when you do your performance, it's a system. The security you put in place is a system. Then the reason why you are doing that survey is to know that that survey is performing up to expectation, and you are not having excess, because when you are having excess, you are also wasting money at the same time. Okay. Then if you have an internet system in your facility, is the internet system giving you the speed, the data speed that you expected in that facility? So you can do a survey And that kind of a survey, you can design a survey, give it to all employees that are having access to that internet. Let them tell you how many hours does it take them to download an application? How many hours does it take them to send a mail? What speed are they getting? From there, you can easily determine if their service provider is giving you what you expected in terms of internet or not. With that, you can easily remove that service provider and put another service provider. That is different from when you are conducting a facility condition assessment. I hope that answers your question.
Can I come in for a minute there, Fatima? You had one concern. You had one concern about the engineers that did the condition assessment not liking their assessment to be criticized. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Are these engineers that do the assessment, are they internal or external staff? Are they internal staff or contractors?
They are third parties. They are contractors.
Yes. So a contractor should not have that kind of power to decide what he do with his reports, right? So you need to let them know as part of your initial briefing, right, that we are not obliged to accept their assessments as full and final, and that we are not confined to their opinions only. We are free to have multiple expert opinions. I don't think your country is so small that you only have one expert in this particular field, right? So, so you should be able to tell them, look, you are doing this evaluation. We are going to have multiple opinions, okay? So be as fair and transparent in your reporting as possible. So you make the conditions of engagement clear. Sometimes we give consultants too much powers because they are the experts and we behave as if we don't know how to manage them. So they end up managing themselves and become our bosses. They should not. Even if you employ me today as a consultant to serve you, you should be able to manage me as your staff, as your employee. I'm only a contractor, a consultant to you. I might be an expert, I can know better than you in everything, but you must have the ability to manage me. And one of the things you must do to be able to manage me is to spell out terms and conditions of engagement upfront. We are asking you to come and do this evaluation. This is the scope of your evaluation. You will check this, you will check that, you will check that. Then for everything you check, you will give us the current condition by your assessment. You will give us your perception of its previous trend of maintenance. You will give us your useful life assessment going forward. What do you expect this asset to be able to handle? I'll give you that as my scope of work. And I'll now tell you, as you do this assessment, please note, we are not obliged to accept your position. We are free to have multiple assessors review our work. We are free to decide to act in the way we feel like, and so on and so forth. So you put those in the terms of engagement of those experts. So automatically you are in charge, all right? So if you come back and say, well, your assessment was not accepted, we've moved in another direction, I mean, that's just a feedback. They're the one buying, they are the ones selling their services, and they need to know clearly from the onset that they are not supposed to come in and become the ultimate bosses of the situation. And this is what has led so many consultants to mislead their clients. They start by bossing over the clients, acting irritated that they are being questioned, their authority is being questioned, and before you know what's happening, they derail you completely because you are now kind of cajoled into trying to please them by acting the way they. And I can tell you, there are too many consultants who don't know their stuff at all, right? They can write all those big grammars, but when it comes to the real operational exigencies or details, you find them completely wanting, and yet they have the ego and arrogance to tell you not to question their authority. So please don't be boxed by any such person. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, man. Yeah, Mr. Lawa.
Hello. Good evening.
Mr. Lawa. Good evening.
Yeah, Mr. Emmanuel, thanks for the lecture. I really appreciate it. I quickly want to draw you back to facility of performance evaluation, I want you to quickly really explain lack of agreed and reliable indication and potential liability for owners. While you were explaining, the network was just bad, so I couldn't grab that.
That should be slide. Okay. So we're talking about when you want to implement facility performance evaluation, there are some certain barriers you might come across which may not allow you to put that evaluation in place, which are more or less like challenges you may encounter in conducting your facility performance evaluation, which is lack of agreed and reliable indicator. Agreed and reliable indicator in the sense that let's assume a facility that is happen to be an estate. You have occupants in that estate. You sent out a survey that the estate occupants should itemize what are their current challenges and what they want the facility management to put in place. You could see occupants requesting for a brand new generator. You can see occupants requiring you that, okay, we need an industrial borehole. They can have a list of several numbers of items. But where you have a challenge with reliable indicator is that what they're actually requesting for, you might not have the financial capability as at that period in time to provide it. And that's the reason why initially, before you carry out your facility performance evaluation, you must ensure that what you are evaluating is a task that after the evaluation, you can put in place. So that's the reason why you predetermine exactly what you want to achieve with your evaluation. So like I was explaining to Ms. Fatima the other time, I said something about security architecture. If I'm evaluating my facility to know my security architecture, I actually know what I want to achieve. I only needed some information from the end user to draw up final conclusion or what I want to do. With the survey, with their whatever information they provide me, it is easier for me to get a reliable indicator because all of them cannot be lying at the same time. If one tenant tells you that this security at the presidential door is always sleeping, and you are having like 3 tenants within the same estate or 5 tenants telling you the same thing, that means that security guard need to be replaced or possibly lock up the pedestrian gate and close that place. So with that, I can generate a reliable indicator. But most of the time, it is not always possible, except you have predetermined what you want to use that survey for ahead before you send it out. Because when you give tenants opportunity to start mentioning their request or mentioning what they want in the facility, they can list anything before heaven and earth. But you might not have the financial capability at that period in time. Even it might not even be in line with your organization mission or the company strategy. That is where you have lack of agreed and reliable indicator. Then potential liability for owner. The owner of the facility brings you in as a third party to maintain that facility on his behalf. You have conducted facility condition assessment and what you recommended that they need to put in place have been put in place. But to ensure that those systems that you've already put in place are actually working, you conduct what is called performance evaluation. And if you don't do this, you can be putting the owner in a liability period. Because there are some particular area you might be wasting money that you wouldn't know. There are some area that you might be draining money down the drain, which is not obvious. But when you conduct your survey, and that's why performance evaluation is always more or less like done. At times, you could do it on a daily basis, you could do it on a weekly basis, you could do it on a monthly basis. It gives you a feedback on how to improve on the one you have done before, or maybe there are some part of what you have done before that is no longer useful again. You can put those ones in place. So you know you have a certain thing you are actually looking for, you are actually monitoring. Then exclusion from current delivery expectation. Your current expectation, you can streamline, pull out what is not required, and add to what you already have on ground, which you know is going to serve the purpose of giving your occupant what we call satisfaction. And that satisfaction not at a liability to you or to your company.
Add to that, Emmanuel.
Okay, sir.
So if you try to compare FCA and FPE, just think of FCA as building focus, and think of FPE as people focused. That's why it's called performance. So your building may not have a defect. That means the FCA is top. You've done FCA and your building doesn't have a single defect. No crack window, no dead bulb, generator works fine, AC works fine. Building is just perfect on its own. It has passed FCA. Condition assessment is good. You've used the condition assessment to calculate your condition index. Your condition index is basically the total cost of repair and upgrades divided by the cost of replacement. That's your FCI. That's how to calculate your FCI. So if your FCI is very small, it means that your repair requirement is very small. If your FCI is very high, it means your repair requirement is very high, which means the higher your FCI, the worse the state of your building, right? So in this case, you've done FCA and you found an FCI that was very small, which means your building is close to new. Building of FCI of 0.01, that's like 1% or 10% of upgrades and repair required to bring it back to brand new. Your building is in top shape. But is that building meeting the requirement for its establishment, for its construction? For example, you can have a church building. Inside, you've converted a warehouse into a church building, for example. The warehouse, you've done SCA, all the systems are working well. But the warehouse does not have maybe a certain number of toilets to cover for male and female. Does not have a surveillance system installed for security. Does not have water for drinking in strategic location, for example. That warehouse may be a perfect building, solid, all systems working, but it will not pass the purpose for which you are using it. People who come to church want to have access to drinking water, want to be able to go to the toilet easily, don't want to stand in a queue, they want to be able to drive in and drive out, but those things were not provided for. So the building matching the people is what FPE is about. The building in itself is what FCA is about. If you think of it that way, it will be easy for you to get to perform FPE, because you are looking at what functions are being performed in the spaces and how are those spaces and services meeting the requirements of those functions. That should just help you to break things down. That's why when we say an FM's KPIs and SLA, they are two different things. The SLA is describing that service level agreements, just to break it down, key performance indicators, KPI versus SLA, service level agreement. The key performance indicators is talking about the impact or relevance of the services to the mission of the organization. I can compare that to FPE. Whereas SLA is describing how that service is being performed or the level of that service. So cleaning, is the place clean? Is SLA. Is the cleaning being done well? Is SLA, right? And that is similar to, if I compare that to FCA and FPE, that will be parallel to FCA, the building or the services. But when I'm looking at KPIs, I'm talking about the organization's mission, the organization's strategic objective. I'm thinking of why we have that building in the first place. FPE also addresses, so FPE is aligned as well in that way. I'm looking at, is this building meeting the the requirements for each establishment. So that is a clear line to draw when considering FCA and FP. I can do FCA for a building and not care about the people in the building. Someone can be in a building where the stairwell is very strong, no handrail shaking, no slippery floor, nothing. But the floor above has 300 people sitting there. And if I'm going to do an evacuation and meet up that evacuation in 5 minutes or 8 minutes, for example, that means there will be a cramming of people in the stairwell. That building will fail FPE. But in terms of FCA, yes, everything is firm, everything is strong, everything is good. I hope this helps.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lawal.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Anthony.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr.
Good to see your face again today.
My face has been there. Well, on Saturday, I wasn't. I was having a big meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead with your question, sir.
Yes. In your explanation, I think basically on when you're talking about the 4 phases of facility condition assessment. Yeah, you said something, whether on phase 1 or phase 2, that the facility manager may need to go to a site, maybe with virtually all people concerned in putting up a building, and that a form will be given, assessment form. So which means an electrician will have to go through whatever he needs to do and fill the form. The plumber will have to do the same. Now, the first question,
yes, sir.
The facility manager, will he go one-on-one with them as they do their assessment and fill the form? Then if no, is it not possible for any of them not giving a true report of the assessment that he or she is doing before the collation of everything under phase 3 or phase 4? That's my question.
Okay, sir. When you have facility condition assessment to carry it out as a facility manager, the facility will determine who and who will be involved in the assessment. If you're doing for an entire building, assuming you are taking up a facility on behalf of a client to maintain for the first time, you know, the building includes your roof system, it includes your electrical system, your mechanical system, your transportation system, your security system, and all those stuff. You might have your own team to carry this out. If in a situation whereby you have your own team, you are at that period in time as the team leader.
Okay.
You can sit down, design, because you are the one that know the result that you actually want to generate from that condition assessment. So you can sit down, use your team to fill for you.
Okay.
So, and at the same time, you could sit them down before the site visit to run through with them your design checklist to let them know what and what is expected each of them to fill in that checklist. Then when they get to site, your role is the role of a team leader. You need to monitor their performance, and whatsoever they are feeling for you must tally with exactly what you want. That is one. But in a situation whereby it requires professional, you will be the one to predetermine what you expect that professional to carry out on that facility on your behalf. For instance, an architect. The building doesn't have an architectural design before. This time around, you need an architectural design to work. So in your scope of work, when you are giving out the contract to the architect, you need to make a list of what you want and what are the reports you want the architect to give you. So that during payment, the report must be in line with what you have already stated in the scope of work. If it involves a civil guy, you need the civil guy to do a structural integrity on the wall, on the building envelope, on the foundation, on the entire roofing system. It is your responsibility to itemize. Fine. The civil guy could be a professional who knows more than you. But at the same time, you are the one that know what you want to achieve in carrying out that condition assessment. Possibly, you want to put an overhead tank in a building. You need to determine the integrity, the building integrity, if that structural integrity can carry out the exact volume of water you want in that place. So when you are giving the civil guy your scope of work, you know exactly what you want him or her to do for you, despite the fact he's a professional in that place. You need an electrical engineering company to do a comprehensive review of your entire electrical system. You make a list. You start from your transformer, your generator. The two of them come to your low voltage panel, which is your LV panel. You tell them exactly what you want, what they needed to provide for you. You don't want anybody to receive electric shock in that building. You need them to test your earthing system for you. And what is the value you're expecting in your earthing system to make sure that your earthing system is good. Those are what is going to form the scope of what you are going to give to that electrical engineer. Or you need a security expert to review your entire security architecture in the whole estate. The security architecture will consider, you have to tell him, these are all the entrance to this building. These are the number of buildings we have. These are the buildings that we have around us. So you are the one that is going to tell him what you expect from him. Fine, he could suggest to you that there are some areas where you have manpower, you could use CCTV instead of manpower. But you have a predetermined result you expect from that, whatever, to carry out for you. And even if it is your team, you are the one that will tell them, this is what we want to achieve, this is what I want to achieve, this is what I want, so that whatsoever information they are generating for you, so the information you need to make summary or to present to management for necessary approval.
All right.
I hope that's answered your question, sir, Mr. Anthony.
Very well.
Okay, okay. Yeah, Mr. Paul,
Thank
maybe you have one or two things to add, sir.
I think you've basically treated that question very well, unless Mr. Tony has a follow-up to it.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Okay, any other question? Do we still have some other questions?
Well, I think the class has fulfilled its mission. If everybody have asked their questions, we can close. Thanks, everybody. Please do your assignments and submit them in. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, sir. Hello. Before we close.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to ask, do we have a copy or a template of a facility condition assessment and FPA?
Yeah, similar to what
that can have as a guide.
Yes, it's in your docket. It's your project docket. We're going to take that class probably next week because questions are leading to it often and often again. So I'll probably just do a session to review your 6 projects with you. Maybe next week or 2 weeks. We normally do it after the middle of the class. So once we have done our 12th to 15th class, we should be able to come with all of that. So you can have access to the templates and you can start working on them straight away. Okay.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, bye-bye.
Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you, Mr.